There is a hidden covenant that governs this world. It is not holy, it is not sacred, and it was never made in your name. It is the covenant with death, a spiritual contract signed by those who chose control over truth, power over purity, and ritual over remembrance. This is the covenant referenced in Isaiah 28:15. We have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. It was not a metaphor, it was literal. An elite pact made with the forces beneath the veil, entities that feed on pain, harvest soul energy, and rule through inversion. They promised protection, power, and prosperity. In exchange, they gave over humanity. Their part of the deal, to keep the masses asleep, looping, and spiritually bound. This is why the world rewards the wicked, why poison is called medicine, why lies are called news, and why light bearers are hunted. The covenant with death is everywhere. In the laws, the systems, the inverted symbols, the false church, the global grid, even the calendar you live by. It's a parasitic contract, and most people are born into it without even knowing. But there was another covenant, older, sacred, unbreakable. The covenant with life. Not the one taught by priests or filtered through state religion, but the original bond between source and the soul. This covenant lives in the flame. It's the agreement made before birth. That your light would never be extinguished, that no matter how dark the realm became, you would find your way back. It's the promise of divine memory, of soul recognition, and of resurrection beyond the system. Whereas the covenant of death is legalistic, binding, and enforced by fear, the covenant of life is activated by choice. It's not automatic. You must remember it. You must speak it. You must live it. I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing, therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. Deuteronomy 30:19. This is your daily choice, which covenant you stand under, which contract your soul operates by, and whether your bloodline carries the curse or breaks it. You constantly relive trauma loops. You feel guilt or fear when stepping into your power. You are trapped in systems that drain, control, or invert you. You unconsciously repeat generational patterns of abuse, addiction, or betrayal. You participate in rituals you don't understand, contracts via language, oaths, ceremonies. You are lawfully bound by codes and systems you never consciously agreed to. But here's the truth. No system can override a soul that chooses life. When you revoke consent, when you tear up the contract, when you stand under a new covenant, the grid starts to break. You don't need a priest, you don't need a temple, you don't need permission. You are the temple, and your voice is the sword. Say this aloud: I revoke every covenant made in my name without my consent. I sever all contracts bound to death, fear, control, and illusion. I remember the covenant of life, written in flame, sealed in truth, and passed to me before I entered this world. I choose life, I choose light, I choose liberation. So it is. Say it again. Say it until you feel the shift. Because it's not just words, it's war. And you've already won. They built a system where souls are recycled, where trauma is currency, and where false peace is sold in exchange for obedience. Sound familiar? This is the covenant that makes people stand under laws they never chose and live in fear of a punishment they never deserved. It's the invisible contract woven into the school system, the court system, the medical system, the church system. It says, obey, comply, repeat, and we'll let you live. But it's a lie, because the life they offer is hollow, and the covenant is spiritual slavery. But there is another covenant, and it burns brighter than anything they can create. The covenant with life. There's something ancient running beneath this world. Something older than governments, older than religion, older than memory itself. It's not just about laws and systems, it's about covenants. Two spiritual contracts. One made in darkness, one made in flame. Most people live under one of them, without even knowing. The covenant with death is the unspoken agreement this realm was built on. It's not a metaphor, it's not poetry, it's real. It shows up in the Bible in Isaiah 28:15, where it says, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. It's not just about ancient times, it's about now, because this world is still operating under it. A covenant that trades truth for control, freedom for order, life for illusion. This was the pact made by the rulers of old, the architects of empire, religion, war, and global power. It was a deal to protect their bloodlines and feed off ours. This is the original contract between your soul and source. It was made before you were born, before your name was given, before the system tried to brand you. This covenant says you are sovereign, you are remembered, and no darkness can erase your light. It was never about dogma, it was never about ritual, it was always about remembrance. That somewhere deep inside, you would remember that you came here to break the spell, to tear up the old contracts, to choose a different path. Not survival, but life, true soul-fed, source-aligned life. The Bible even speaks this clearly in Deuteronomy 30:19. I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing, therefore choose life, that both you and your seed may live. It's a choice every day, not just in ritual, but in action, in vibration, in alignment. Because these two covenants run like rivers. One leads to recycling, looping, loss of memory. The other leads to liberation and return. So how do you know which covenant you're under? Here are the signs of the death covenant. You feel like you're repeating the same pain again and again. You feel drained after engaging with systems meant to help you. You've taken oaths, pledges, or contracts without understanding what they meant. You feel like your soul is being pulled in multiple directions. You sense that something invisible is feeding on your pain or energy. You experience a deep fear of breaking away, even though you know the system is wrong. These are signs you're still spiritually entangled. But the good news, no contract is stronger than conscious will. No covenant holds power over a soul who remembers. You don't need a priest, you don't need paperwork, you don't need permission. You are the temple, your voice is the sword, and your blood is flame. Try saying this aloud, even just whisper it. It still works. I revoke all contracts made in my name without consent. I break every vow tied to fear, suffering, control, or deception. I do not stand under the covenant of death. I stand under the covenant of life. I am remembered. I am free. I am flame. Say it again. Say it until it burns. Because this isn't superstition. It's remembrance. This is the moment you start living under a different sky, where your children will carry a different seed, where your words speak life instead of looping, where your soul no longer serves the grid, but serves truth. This is your inheritance, not the land, not the bloodline, but the covenant. They want you signed under death, but you were born under light. Now it's time to return to it. So if you're listening to this right now, and something in your chest is stirring, that's not coincidence, that's remembrance. You felt the weight of the contract, the invisible leash, the silent oath that never felt quite right, and now you know why. You were born into a broken system, but not to become part of it. You were born to be the breaker, the disruptor, the flame bearer that refuses to be bound. And the truth is, they've always known who you are. That's why they tried to silence you. That's why they built a world that punishes light and rewards shadow. That's why they filled your childhood with fear, shame, confusion, to stop you from finding this moment, right now. But it's too late because the spell is cracking. The veil is thinning and the covenant is being rewritten by you. You are not under their system. You do not belong to the grid. You are not the product of their programs, their labels, or their codes. You are the living contract, breathing flame, spoken word. Sacred spark from something far beyond their reach. So walk different now, speak different, choose different. Let them whisper that you're mad. Let them laugh at your rituals. Let them mock your light. Because deep down they remember it too. And the only way the death covenant survives is if the life covenant stays forgotten. So don't forget, not now, not ever. You're not here to survive the system, you're here to end it. And it ends with flame, yours.